Welcome back to our channel, devoted soap opera aficionados. Today is a spectacular day to delve into the most heart-stopping, emotionally charged developments currently unfolding on your screens. The drama in Los Angeles has officially reached an unprecedented boiling point, and we are here to break down every single shocking detail of this tragic storyline. Let us jump right into the chaos. The glossy, high-stakes world of Forrester Creations has always been a ruthless battleground for corporate supremacy, creative control, and deeply entangled romantic alliances. However, no one could have ever predicted the horrific, life-altering tragedy that has just shattered the Forrester family foundation to its absolute core. The relentless corporate warfare between Steffy Forrester Finnegan, Hope Logan Spencer, and Brooke Logan Forrester has spiraled wildly out of control, culminating in an act of physical violence that will forever alter the landscape of the bold and the beautiful. In a moment of sheer, unadulterated madness and uncontrollable frustration, Ridge Forrester lost his temper and delivered a devastating slap to his own daughter, Steffy. The physical impact of this shocking assault was catastrophic, leading to an unthinkable, heart-wrenching tragedy. Steffy has suffered a miscarriage. This horrifying event has sent massive shockwaves through the entire fashion industry and the deeply interconnected families of Los Angeles, transforming a bitter boardroom dispute over executive titles into a profound human catastrophe that leaves absolutely no character unscathed. To truly understand the magnitude of this catastrophic event, we must deeply examine the intense, pressure cooker environment that led to Ridge Forrester's unforgivable loss of emotional and physical control. For weeks, the executive suite at Forrester Creations has been a toxic wasteland of passive-aggressive threats, overt power grabs, and generational resentment. Brooke's relentless, unyielding campaign to usurp Steffy's co-CEO position on behalf of Hope created an unbearable, suffocating tension within the building. Ridge, a man who has historically struggled with a paralyzing inability to balance his loyalty between his current wife and his fiercely independent children, found himself trapped in an impossible psychological vice. When the argument in the CEO office reached its absolute zenith, the emotional pressure finally caused Ridge's fragile composure to snap entirely. The slap was not merely a physical strike. It was the violent, tragic eruption of decades of unresolved familial trauma, a physical manifestation of Ridge's complete inability to maintain order and peace within his own chaotic dynasty. The agonizing echo of that slap will forever haunt the pristine halls of Forrester Creations. The immediate aftermath of the physical altercation was a scene of sheer horror, panic, and profound devastation. Steffy, who has always presented herself to the world as an unbreakable fortress of strength, resilience, and fierce independence, was physically compromised in the most vulnerable and terrifying way imaginable. The immense psychological stress of the corporate war, combined with the sudden, shocking physical trauma of her father's assault, triggered a catastrophic medical crisis that resulted in the tragic loss of her unborn child. For Steffy and her devoted husband, Dr. John Finn Finnegan, this miscarriage is an agonizing, soul-crushing blow that transcends any corporate rivalry or fashion line dispute. The nursery that was meant to welcome a beautiful new life will now stand as a haunting, silent monument to Ridge's uncontrollable rage. Steffy's grief is a profound, suffocating darkness, a pain so deep and visceral that it threatens to consume her entirely, stripping away her fierce corporate persona and leaving behind a shattered, grieving mother who has been betrayed by the man she trusted most. News of this unimaginable tragedy traveled with lightning speed, reaching the ears of the one woman who has always been Steffy's ultimate, unwavering protector, Dr. Taylor Hayes. Upon hearing the devastating news that her beloved daughter had suffered miscarriage directly resulting from Ridge's physical assault, Taylor was instantly consumed by a blinding, righteous maternal fury. Dropping everything in her life, Taylor immediately boarded the first flight back to Los Angeles, her brilliant psychiatric mind racing with a singular, unyielding objective: to shield her daughter from the toxic wasteland that the Forrester and Logan families have collectively created. Taylor's return to the canvas is not a diplomatic visit or a gentle family reunion. It is an absolute declaration of war. She arrives not as a peacemaker, but as an avenging angel, armed with her formidable medical expertise and a mother's unbreakable resolve to completely destroy anyone who has contributed to her daughter's profound, irreversible suffering. The moment Taylor's feet touch the ground in Los Angeles, she makes a direct beeline for the ultimate source of the toxicity, initiating a confrontation with Brooke Logan Forrester that will undoubtedly go down in soap opera history as one of the most intense showdowns ever broadcast. Storming into the Forrester mansion with eyes blazing, Taylor unleashes decades of pent-up resentment, agonizing heartbreak, and righteous indignation. She does not mince her words, directly and viciously accusing Brooke of being the true, insidious architect of this horrific tragedy. Taylor argues with razor-sharp, clinical precision that Brooke's blind, unwavering favoritism toward hope and her relentless, manipulative campaign to force Ridge into stripping Steffy of her hard-earned power pushed Ridge to the absolute brink of sanity. In Taylor's fierce estimation, Brooke's insatiable need to elevate her own daughter at the direct expense of Steffy created the exact, volatile pressure cooker environment that caused Ridge to violently lose his mind. Faced with Taylor's blistering, undeniable accusations, Brooke finds herself backed into a terrifying, inescapable psychological corner. Deep down in her soul, Brooke is horrified and deeply disgusted by Ridge's actions. She fundamentally knows that a father striking his pregnant daughter is an indefensible, monstrous act of abuse. Yet her deeply ingrained codependency and her historical, almost pathological instinct to protect Ridge immediately kick in. Brooke attempts to contextualize the assault, desperately pointing to the immense, crushing stress Ridge was under and the chaotic nature of the corporate dispute they were all engaged in. However, this defensive, enabling posture only serves to exponentially fuel Taylor's disgust and rage. To Taylor, Brooke's sickening willingness to make pathetic excuses for a violent abuser highlights the ultimate hypocrisy of the Logan matriarch. Brooke is caught in an agonizing trap of her own making, desperately trying to salvage the remnants of her fractured marriage while standing firmly on the wrong side of a profound moral boundary. Recognizing that hollow apologies and tears will never bring back her unborn grandchild or heal her daughter's shattered soul, Taylor decides that unprecedented, aggressive action must be taken to ensure Ridge faces the ultimate consequences for his brutality. Utilizing her fierce intellect and fiercely protective instincts, Taylor convinces a grieving, broken Steffy to initiate a massive, uncompromising legal battle. In a shocking move that will forever sever the Forrester family tree and dominate global headlines, Taylor helps Steffy file a high-stakes lawsuit against Ridge, officially charging him with assault resulting in grievous bodily harm and the wrongful death of an unborn child. This is no longer a mere family squabble to be swept under the rug. It is a full-blown criminal and civil war. The impending legal proceedings promise to drag the darkest, ugliest secrets of the Forrester family into the unforgiving, glaring light of a public courtroom, threatening to destroy the glamorous legacy of Forrester creations permanently. Beyond the pursuit of legal and financial retribution, Taylor's primary, overriding concern is the incredibly fragile state of Steffy's mental health. As a world-renowned psychiatrist, Taylor acutely recognizes the severe, compounding trauma her daughter has endured, not just the physical, agonizing loss of the baby, but the profound psychological betrayal of being violently attacked by her own father, her supposed protector. Taylor makes the unilateral, non-negotiable decision to remove Steffy entirely from the toxic, suffocating sphere of influence exerted by both the Forrester and Logan families. She orchestrates a complete, impenetrable isolation for Steffy, ensuring that neither Ridge, Brooke, nor Hope can access her or manipulate her emotions. This protective quarantine is meticulously designed to give Steffy the safe, unpolluted, and quiet space she desperately needs to grieve, to heal her body, and to rebuild her shattered psyche without the constant, toxic interference of her abusers and their enablers. Meanwhile, Ridge Forrester is experiencing a total, catastrophic psychological collapse of epic proportions. The horrifying realization of what he has actually done, that his momentary, selfish loss of control directly resulted in the death of his own innocent grandchild, is a crushing, suffocating weight that he simply cannot escape. Ridge is a man who has always proudly viewed himself as the benevolent, wise patriarch, the ultimate protector of his family's grand legacy. Now, he is forced to look in the mirror and see the reflection of a violent monster. The impending, highly publicized lawsuit filed by his own daughter strips away his wealth, his elite status, and his corporate power, leaving him entirely exposed to the harsh, unforgiving judgment of the world. Ridge is paralyzed by an overwhelming, toxic cocktail of guilt, shame, and intense self-loathing, knowing deep in his heart that no amount of apologies, tears, or grand romantic gestures can ever repair the profound, irreversible damage he has inflicted upon his own flesh and blood. As Ridge rapidly spirals into an inescapable abyss of despair, Brooke finds herself increasingly isolated and alienated from absolutely everyone she loves and respects. Her misguided instinct to protect her husband is fundamentally, morally at odds with the horrifying reality of his violent actions. The more Brooke desperately tries to defend Ridge or mitigate the massive fallout of the slap, the more she alienates the people around her, including her own sisters of the Logan brand and her beloved daughter. Brooke is trapped squarely in the middle of a vicious war zone, forced to navigate the impossible, treacherous terrain between her unwavering loyalty to her husband and her fundamental understanding of right and wrong. The immense stress of this impossible position threatens to completely shatter her marriage, as the tragic ghost of Steffy's unborn child stands as an impenetrable, icy barrier between Ridge and Brooke, a constant, agonizing reminder of the tragedy their toxic dynamic helped create. Perhaps the most complex, surprising, and deeply tragic emotional journey in this entire ordeal belongs to Hope Logan Spencer. Despite the bitter, venomous corporate rivalry she has shared with Steffy over the Hope for the Future line, and despite her recent, highly secretive defection to the rival Logan fashion brand, Hope is absolutely devastated and heartbroken by the news of the miscarriage. Hope is a devoted mother herself, and the terrifying thought of losing a child resonates with her on a profound, visceral level that transcends any boardroom dispute. However, this genuine empathy is quickly and ruthlessly overshadowed by a crushing, suffocating sense of personal guilt. Hope simply cannot escape the haunting, persistent thought that she is the ultimate root cause of this entire catastrophe. She realizes with sickening clarity that if she had not constantly complained to Brooke, if she had not actively pushed her mother to launch a hostile, aggressive takeover for Steffy's co-CEO's seat, the argument that led to the fatal slap would never have occurred. This overwhelming, paralyzing guilt creates a massive, seemingly irreparable rift between Hope and Brooke. Hope is deeply disgusted and fundamentally repulsed by her mother's pathetic attempts to defend Ridge's abusive behavior. In a stunning, unprecedented reversal of their usual dynamic, Hope finds herself entirely empathetic to Steffy's horrific plight and furiously angry with Brooke's blind, enabling loyalty to an abuser. Hope fiercely confronts Brooke, tearfully and aggressively accusing her of prioritizing Ridge's emotional well-being over basic human decency and the sacred life of an unborn child. This massive fracture in the iconic Logan mother-daughter bond is a devastating, long-lasting consequence of the tragedy. Hope, heavily burdened by her own perceived culpability, realizes she can no longer stand by a mother who enables such horrific violence, pushing Hope even further into the welcoming, protective arms of the Spencer family and solidifying her permanent, irreversible exit from the Forrester sphere of influence. The corporate implications of this deeply personal tragedy are staggering and unprecedented. Forrester Creations, once the undisputed crown jewel of the Los Angeles fashion world, is now a company in absolute, undeniable ruins. With the co-CEO actively suing the other co-CEO for violent assault, and the lead designer having defected to a rival brand in disgust, the company is bleeding money, talent, and public goodwill at an alarming rate. The massive media spectacle surrounding the lawsuit, the tragic miscarriage, and the bitter family civil war turns the legendary fashion house into a glaring cautionary tale of corporate greed, unchecked egos, and familial dysfunction. The formidable Spencer-Logan alliance, led by the ruthless Bill and the strategic Katie, watches from afar as their greatest rival spectacularly self-destructs, proving Carter Walton's prophetic warnings entirely correct. The relentless pursuit of power and the stubborn refusal to compromise have finally burned Forrester Creations to the ground. As the dust begins to settle on this unimaginable, heart-wrenching tragedy, the characters are left to navigate a bleak, unrecognizable landscape where nothing will ever be the same. Taylor's fierce, uncompromising protection of Steffy sets a powerful new standard for maternal devotion, drawing a sharp, unflattering contrast to Brooke's toxic, enabling behavior. The impending lawsuit will undoubtedly be a long, grueling, and highly public process that will force every single member of the family to testify under oath and take definitive sides, further deepening the generational wounds that have plagued them for decades. The tragic loss of Steffy's baby is a permanent, agonizing scar on the soul of the show, a tragic reminder that selfish actions have irreversible, life-altering consequences. The golden, glamorous era of the Forrester dynasty has come to a violent, heartbreaking end, replaced by a dark, turbulent era of legal battles, severe psychological trauma, and permanently fractured allegiances.